Some highly intelligent people spend their entire lives feeling mentally out of sync with the world around them, without fully understanding why. From the outside, they may appear distracted, distant, inconsistent, or lost in thought at strange moments. Someone is speaking to them, and suddenly their attention seems to disappear for a few seconds before returning again. But internally, something much more complicated is happening. Their mind did not shut off. It expanded. One idea triggered another, which triggered another, until the brain was exploring multiple layers of connection automatically and involuntarily. Research on high intelligence suggests that highly efficient brains often possess excess cognitive capacity, meaning the mind continues processing even when the immediate environment no longer requires full attention. Instead of remaining still, the brain keeps searching, associating, analyzing, and exploring beneath the surface of ordinary conversation. This changes how attention operates entirely. Highly intelligent people are often not simply paying attention to one thing. They are tracking patterns, possibilities, implications, contradictions, emotional undercurrents, and abstract connections simultaneously. Their perception of reality becomes layered in ways difficult to explain to others. And because most environments are designed around average cognitive pacing, gifted individuals frequently grow up feeling disconnected from the rhythm of ordinary life. Conversations may feel too shallow. Repetition may feel mentally painful. Small talk may create exhaustion rather than connection. Over time, many begin wondering if something is wrong with them because their inner experience seems fundamentally different from everyone else's around them. But difference is not dysfunction. In many cases, it is the natural consequence of a mind processing far more information beneath the surface than the environment can visibly see. One of the strangest experiences highly intelligent people often share is the feeling that their mind refuses to stay in one place for very long. Someone says a single sentence, and within seconds the brain has already connected it to a memory, an abstract idea, a future possibility, and a completely different problem that suddenly feels important to solve. From the outside, this can look like distraction or inattention, but research suggests something else may be happening entirely. Studies on highly efficient brains show that when cognitive capacity exceeds the demands of the immediate task, the mind begins exploring automatically. Psychologists call this spontaneous cognition. The brain keeps running in the background even when the environment no longer requires active effort. What looks like daydreaming is often the nervous system performing complex internal pattern recognition without conscious permission. The problem is that it happens everywhere. During conversations, meetings, classes, even while someone is trying very hard to pay attention. Highly intelligent minds do not simply process the surface of information. They chase implications beneath it. This same cognitive intensity also changes how time itself is experienced. Many gifted individuals repeatedly lose track of time in ways that confuse both themselves and the people around them. They sit down to complete one task, look up, and realize hours have disappeared. Not because they were lazy or careless, but because deep cognitive immersion disrupted their normal awareness of time passing. Neuroscientists refer to this as temporal dissociation, a state where intense mental engagement temporarily overrides the brain's ordinary timekeeping system. For highly intelligent people, this can become a recurring pattern. Their minds move too quickly when unstimulated and lose connection to time completely when deeply absorbed. This often creates the appearance of disorganization from the outside, but internally, the experience feels very different. The brain becomes so focused on depth that surface-level awareness simply fades into the background. Another misunderstood trait appears in humor itself. Many highly intelligent people find certain dark or absurd things funny in ways that make others uncomfortable or confused. The humor arrives instantly, often at inappropriate moments, before they consciously choose it. Research on dark humor appreciation found strong correlations with higher verbal intelligence and emotional regulation. Psychologists explain this through a process called cognitive dissociation, the ability to hold two contradictory emotional realities at the same time. Dark humor requires the brain to recognize tragedy and absurdity simultaneously and detect the hidden connection between them. Most people process emotions one layer at a time, but highly intelligent minds often run multiple emotional interpretations in parallel. This is why certain jokes produce immediate recognition for them while everyone else in the room remains silent. These behaviors may appear strange from the outside, but they are not signs of dysfunction. They are often signs of a mind operating with unusual cognitive intensity, constantly searching beneath the obvious surface of reality for deeper patterns, meanings, and connections. Many highly intelligent people grow up believing something is wrong with them long before anyone realizes they may simply be cognitively different. In classrooms designed for average pacing, gifted children often appear restless, distracted, emotionally intense, or difficult to manage. They ask too many questions, lose interest quickly, interrupt lessons with unexpected ideas, or mentally disappear when the material feels painfully repetitive. From the outside, these behaviors can resemble ADHD, anxiety, oppositional behavior, or emotional instability. And in many cases, those labels are applied early. But researchers studying gifted cognition have repeatedly found that highly intelligent individuals are frequently misunderstood because the environment itself does not match the speed or depth of their thinking. Psychologists call this educational misalignment. The problem is not always dysfunction inside the child. Sometimes the problem is a nervous system built for complexity, trapped inside environments unable to engage it properly. A mind with excess cognitive capacity naturally searches for stimulation. When the environment cannot provide enough depth, the brain creates its own. What looks like inattention may actually be understimulation. What appears emotionally excessive may simply be heightened sensitivity combined with rapid processing. But intelligence does not only create strengths, it also creates vulnerabilities that are much harder to notice. Highly intelligent people are often exceptionally good at detecting flaws in other people's reasoning. They can identify contradictions, emotional bias, logical gaps, and weak arguments very quickly. Research consistently shows that higher cognitive ability improves analytical reasoning and pattern recognition. But this creates a dangerous illusion. The better someone becomes at analyzing others, the more easily they begin assuming their own thinking is equally objective. In reality, the opposite can happen. Psychologists call this the bias blind spot, the tendency to recognize cognitive bias in others while remaining surprisingly blind to it in ourselves. Studies found that highly intelligent individuals often possess larger blind spots about their own flawed reasoning than average. The explanation is uncomfortable but important. Intelligence does not remove bias. It can actually make bias more sophisticated. A highly intelligent mind becomes extremely skilled at constructing convincing explanations for conclusions it already emotionally prefers. This is called motivated reasoning. Instead of reducing self-deception completely, cognitive sophistication sometimes hides it beneath more elaborate logic. The person feels objective because the reasoning sounds intelligent, even when emotion quietly shaped the conclusion long before the reasoning began. This is why intelligence must be understood with nuance. A gifted mind can produce extraordinary insight while simultaneously creating invisible vulnerabilities. The same cognitive power that detects patterns clearly in the world can also become incredibly skilled at protecting its own blind spots from scrutiny. One of the strangest parts of high intelligence is how often understanding arrives before explanation. Some people reach the correct conclusion instantly, but struggle to describe exactly how they got there. The answer appears first, while the reasoning catches up afterward. Neuroscience suggests this may happen because highly intelligent brains process information through unusually efficient and unconventional neural pathways. Large amounts of pattern recognition occur beneath conscious awareness before logical language fully forms around them. Psychologists call this implicit cognition. The mind recognizes connections faster than conscious reasoning can narrate them. This is why gifted individuals sometimes feel frustrated when asked to show their work. Internally, the conclusion feels obvious long before the pathway becomes visible enough to explain step by step. That same depth of processing often appears emotionally as well. Research has shown that highly intelligent individuals tend to behave more generously in economic experiments, but the explanation is more psychologically complex than simple kindness alone. Some researchers describe this as rational altruism. Highly intelligent people often possess greater confidence in their future ability to rebuild resources, solve problems, or recover from loss. This reduces the perceived risk of giving. Compassion and strategic thinking quietly operate together beneath the surface. But perhaps the heaviest burden carried by highly intelligent minds is emotional overexcitability, a concept developed by psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski. Gifted individuals frequently display heightened emotional and moral sensitivity far beyond ordinary social awareness. They notice tension before anyone speaks. They detect insincerity, emotional inconsistency, or moral conflict almost immediately. Their nervous systems process emotional undercurrents the way others process obvious spoken facts. This can create an exhausting relationship with the world because highly sensitive minds struggle to ignore contradictions others comfortably overlook. They feel the emotional atmosphere of rooms deeply. They carry concern for injustice, suffering, and inauthenticity that many people never consciously register at all. Over time, this heightened awareness can create another painful experience common among gifted individuals: existential depression. Unlike ordinary depression tied clearly to external events, existential depression often emerges from awareness itself. The same cognitive depth that allows someone to think abstractly about meaning, mortality, suffering, and human contradiction also exposes them constantly to the emotional weight of those realities. A highly analytical mind does not need a personal crisis to encounter despair. It can arrive there through reflection alone. Researchers studying gifted cognition found that highly intelligent people are disproportionately vulnerable to this kind of heaviness because their minds naturally gravitate toward complexity. They see not only how things are, but how different they could be. They notice the gap between potential and reality everywhere, and carrying that awareness continuously can become emotionally exhausting in ways difficult to explain to others. This is the hidden emotional cost of deep cognition. The same mind capable of extraordinary insight is often the same mind struggling quietly beneath the weight of everything it cannot stop seeing. Many gifted people grow up carrying the same quiet feeling, without realizing how many others carry it too. The feeling of being too much, too intense for ordinary conversations, too emotional about things everyone else seemed able to ignore, too curious, asking questions that made people uncomfortable or impatient, too sensitive to tension, criticism, unfairness, or emotional shifts others barely noticed. And over time, these labels stop sounding like temporary judgments from the outside world. They become internal identities. The child who is repeatedly told to calm down, stop overthinking, stop asking so many questions, stop feeling everything so deeply slowly, begins shrinking parts of themselves to survive socially. They learn to apologize for their intensity before anyone even asks them to. But research on gifted cognition suggests something profoundly important. Many of the traits criticized in highly intelligent children are not signs of dysfunction at all. They are direct consequences of cognitive and emotional intensity itself. A mind processing more information naturally asks more questions. A nervous system detecting emotional subtleties naturally reacts more strongly to inconsistency and tension. A brain wired for depth naturally struggles inside environments designed around surface-level engagement. In many cases, the problem was never the child. The problem was the mismatch between the child and the environment surrounding them. Standard classrooms, ordinary social expectations, emotionally shallow environments, and rigid systems often fail to accommodate gifted intensity comfortably. And when intensity exceeds what the environment knows how to hold, it becomes labeled as excessive instead of understood. But intensity is not pathology. Feeling deeply is not weakness. Thinking differently is not failure. The same traits that once made gifted children feel isolated are often the exact traits connected to creativity, insight, empathy, innovation, emotional depth, and intellectual originality later in life. The mind that wandered too far was often searching more deeply than others could follow. The sensitivity that felt overwhelming was often heightened awareness, not fragility. And maybe healing begins when gifted individuals stop viewing themselves through the language of deficiency they inherited growing up. You were never too much. You were often simply standing inside rooms too small for the scale of your mind, your awareness, and the depth of what you naturally carried inside you.